So I did grow up here. I was born here in 1956, and some of my earliest activities were going to Lido Beach with my family because we lived near Ringling, so that was our beach. And there are photographs of me like in an inner tube, you know, in a diaper on Lido Beach. I have awesome nostalgic feelings about the Lido Casino, which I vaguely remember. It was such an amazing, amazing thing. But, you know, the white sand and the Gulf of Mexico were sort of like from the very beginning, from the time I was in a diaper, I was exposed to that. But I had a huge hiatus from the water when we moved out east of town because I was into horses and that sort of thing. I lived on Siesta Key off and on as a teenager. That's how I got back to the water, is that as soon as I became autonomous and was living on my own, I figured out that in the summertime you could get very inexpensive rentals on Siesta Key. So I would do summer rentals and be on the beach. And then one day I saw someone on a windsurfer. And I thought, oh my God, that's what I want to do. So I bought a couple of windsurfers out of the newspaper. And in that day, windsurfing was so primitive and so difficult that most people tried it and just said, this is beyond, you know, the patience or my endurance or whatever, because we would say you get up and fall down 150 times before you go anywhere. But here I am trying to learn to sail this thing that you fall off of it. You're in the water with whatever else is in here, and you may not be able to get back. It was all very exciting. But as I got this bug that it was so much fun, it was so physical, and the wind attracted me probably more than the water did. The wind has always attracted me like a horse, and the power that you get from having an animal that is a lot of power that you have to use finesse to control it. So it was very much like that. So I got good at windsurfing enough to really enjoy it. Started racing windsurfers. I was selling real estate at the time. And then I started teaching people to windsurf as a part-time job. It was my passion that I found that because I'm a good communicator and I'm passionate about having fun and at seeing people succeed, they had fun, they paid me, they learned to windsurf, I had immediate income. And it was just in '93, I started my own school teaching windsurfing. I'd visited Hawaii and gotten to be a much better windsurfer. I'd visited the Columbia River Gorge and gotten to be a much better windsurfer. And then here in Sarasota was windsurfing in all the most ridiculously difficult conditions with the boys. And so it was just, it consumed me. And teaching people to do it and being able to teach people at a higher level to do it in more and more challenging conditions has just been so exciting. Of course, with the advent of kiteboarding, that just set the hook even deeper, because now we're really talking big adrenaline rushes and the factor of learning it and teaching it. I went to some training in Cape Hatteras and realized that we knew more here about safety than they knew there. And it was like, okay, so we are going to be pioneers. And so I started teaching people again. We started introducing safety mechanisms that worked and really being more cautious about what we were doing and knowing ahead of time, you know, this is what is going to go wrong. And so that was it's been a very exciting thing to teach kiteboarding. It's become so much more attainable and safe compared to what it was back then. But the fact that none of us locally were ever seriously hurt was because we had a close network of people who shared information and who were supportive of one another, and that we also had the support of the lifeguards and the community in embracing this cool new sport. My husband introduced the first kayaking tours in Sarasota. He grew up on Siesta Key, and his parents bought property on Fauble Lane, which is right off of Bayou Louise, and he and his buddies grew up going across Big Pass. We knew that you could get in the water there because my husband had remembered as a kid going through these, they're called the mangrove tunnels. They had the idea that if you cut tunnels or canals through them, it would irrigate, and the mosquito larvae have to stay still for X number of hours in order to hatch. that if it was irrigated, they wouldn't hatch and you'd get rid of the mosquito problem. Well, in fact, this really has worked quite well, but it was poo-pooed that it really didn't do much good. And plus we had DDT. What did we need canals for? So when DDT came along and all that long time of being able to just go out there and fumigate the place, we don't have any mosquitoes. Sarasota County, when they purchased Ted Sperling Park, they got the mangrove tunnels. That property was going to be developed by Arvida, that there was going to be an 18-hole golf course, condominiums, all sorts of stuff. In that entire South Lido Park was going to be developed by Arvida. And there had been a community upswelling of opposition to them doing that, led by a woman named Jeannie McElmurray, who became a county commissioner, and they called it the Save Our Bays Association. A bunch of people got together, including my husband, who was just a teenager at the time. And I had learned this history. I didn't participate in this, but I'd heard about it, through just being in the community. And they had a protest when the governor was coming, and all these people were gathering at the yacht club and celebrating this cool thing that's going on with the groundbreaking, because it was really going to happen. They did this protest with hundreds of boats linked together, making all this noise, and a helicopter that flew over, and the governor, and all these people are looking and going, what is it? And then they brought this information out that the mangroves are critical habitat. The mangroves are critical to protecting our land. We would all be blown away in the next storm if you get rid of them. So that's before mangroves became protected. That land became nowhere near as valuable as it had been. That's how the county ended up being able to buy it. And then they cleared out the mangrove tunnels. They went in and opened up those tunnels. Now they're canopies. As the mangroves grew up over these trenches, they created these tunnels that you can paddle through. And it's like Disney World, only it's real. One of my passions is, at this stage of my life, helping to shed light on the fact that access to the water, to go shelling or to go kayaking or stand-up paddleboarding, all of these things are why people move here. Not just that it's beautiful blue skies and palm trees, but the water, and not just seeing it, but being able to actually get in it. And with so many more people than we've ever had, and access being so difficult, I think it's very important that our citizens and our legislators and everybody in the community wrap their heads around how little access we have to the water and how precious it is. I'm in a position now where I can bring these things up and have discussions about them. And are they still going to say conflict of interest? Are they still going to say whatever it is? Yes, they may. But I've gained as much credibility as I can. I've gained as much influence as I think I can. And I believe that by just keeping the public aware and being ready to say, we have a choice here. People need access. The visitors need access. The vendors need access. The people who live here need access. And it needs to be fair, balanced, and equitable and responsible use. In 1987, people couldn't even spell kayak. And when they thought of kayak, they thought of an Inuit. They didn't realize kayaks could be recreational. We brought them out on Siesta Key, and they were pink and green and blue, and they were like, what are those things? We're like, they're kayaks. Sit on top kayaks. And now, think how commonplace that is. Now with the advent of stand-up paddleboarding, look at all the people that are getting on the water. And now my latest and most exciting thing is that the whole problem of getting people windsurfing was that they didn't think they could do it to begin with, and it was difficult. And now you have all these people carrying around boards that you can easily put a sail on them. And the one thing stand-up paddleboarders hate is wind. So when it's too windy to stand up paddleboard, give them a sail and give them a really good lesson, and now they're off sailing and everybody's out. So it's very, very exciting time. And having purchased this property with the idea of facilitating access to the water, so that here's where we offer it all, and this very cool Key West house. And I still love this place, and I'm really hopeful that someday we'll be able to do something where people would come from the water and come here and have fish tacos on their way to wherever they're going, and really have like water community as part of what we do here.